This article will be studied during the week of July 11th through 17th. Who is the most important person in your life? Theme text: You alone are the Most High over all the earth. Psalm 83:18. Paragraphs 1 and 2. Question: With regard to our personal salvation, why is it not enough just to know Jehovah's name? Perhaps the first time you saw Jehovah's name was when it was shown to you at Psalm 83:18. You may have been surprised to read those words, that people may know that you, whose name is Jehovah, you alone are the Most High over all the earth. Since then, you no doubt have used this same scripture to help others come to know our loving God, Jehovah. Although it is important for people to know Jehovah's name, such knowledge in itself is not enough. Notice how the psalmist highlights yet another truth essential to our salvation when he says, You alone are the Most High over all the earth. Yes, Jehovah is the most important person in the whole universe. As the Creator of all things, He has the right to expect full submission from all His creatures. For good reason, then, we need to ask ourselves, who is the most important person in my life? It is vital that we carefully analyze our answer to that question. The issue in the Garden of Eden. Paragraphs 3 and 4. Question: How was Satan able to deceive Eve, and with what result? The seriousness of this question can be clearly seen in the events that developed back in the Garden of Eden. There, the rebellious angel, who later became known as Satan the Devil, enticed the first woman Eve to put her own desires ahead of Jehovah's command not to eat the fruit of a certain tree. She succumbed to this enticement and thereby showed a lack of respect for Jehovah's sovereignty. Eve did not acknowledge Jehovah as the most important person in her life. But how was Satan able to deceive Eve? Satan used several subtle tactics in his conversation with Eve. Genesis 3, 1-5 reads, Now the serpent proved to be the most cautious of all the wild beasts of the field that Jehovah God had made. So it began to say to the woman, Is it really so that God said you must not eat from every tree of the garden? At this the woman said to the serpent, Of the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But as for eating of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, God has said, You must not eat from it. No, you must not touch it, that you do not die. At this the serpent said to the woman, You positively will not die. For God knows that in the very day of your eating from it, your eyes are bound to be opened, and you are bound to be like God, knowing good and bad. First, Satan did not use Jehovah's personal name. He simply spoke of God. By contrast, the writer of Genesis used Jehovah's personal name in the first verse of that chapter. Second, instead of speaking of God's command, Satan merely asked about what God had said. In this subtle way, Satan may have tried to minimize the importance of that command. Third, although speaking only to Eve, he used the plural form of the pronoun you. In so doing, he may have tried to appeal to her pride, endeavoring to make her feel important, as if she were the spokesperson for herself and her husband. The result? Eve evidently took it upon herself to speak for both of them by saying to the serpent, Of the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. Paragraph 5. Question A. On what did Satan get Eve to focus her attention? Question B. What did Eve show by eating of the forbidden fruit? Satan also distorted the facts. He implied that God was unfair in demanding that Adam and Eve must not eat from every tree of the garden. Next, Satan got Eve to think about herself and how she could supposedly improve her lot in life, becoming like God. Eventually, he got her to focus on the tree and its fruit, rather than on her relationship with the one who had given her everything. Genesis 3:6 reads, Consequently, the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was something to be longed for to the eyes. Yes, the tree was desirable to look upon, so she began taking of its fruit and eating it. Afterward, she gave some also to her husband when with her, and he began eating it. Sadly, by eating of the fruit, Eve showed that Jehovah was not the most important person in her life. The issue in Job's day. Paragraph 6. Question. How did Satan challenge Job's record of integrity, and what opportunity was thereby given to Job? Centuries later, the faithful man Job had an opportunity to show who was the most important person in his life. When Jehovah confronted Satan with Job's record of integrity, Satan retorted, "Is it for nothing that Job has feared God?" Job 1, 7-10 reads, Then Jehovah said to Satan, "Where do you come from?" At that, Satan answered Jehovah and said, "From roving about in the earth and from walking about in it." And Jehovah went on to say to Satan, "Have you set your heart upon my servant Job, that there is no one like him in the earth, a man blameless and upright, fearing God and turning aside from bad?" At that Satan answered Jehovah and said, "Is it for nothing that Job has feared God? Have not you yourself put up a hedge about him, and about his house, and about everything that he has all around? The work of his hands you have blessed, and his livestock itself has spread abroad in the earth." Satan did not deny that Job was obedient to God. Instead, he questioned Job's motives. He slyly accused Job of serving Jehovah not out of love, but out of selfish interest. Only Job could answer that charge, and he was given the opportunity to do so. Paragraph 7 and 8. Question. What trials did Job have to deal with, and what did he show by his faithful endurance? Jehovah allowed Satan to bring a series of disasters upon Job, one after the other. How did Job react to this reversal of circumstances? We are told that he did not sin or ascribe anything improper to God. Job 1:22. But Satan was still not silenced. He further complained, "Skin in behalf of skin, and everything that a man has he will give in behalf of his soul." Job 2:4. The footnote reads, Some Bible scholars feel that the expression "skin in behalf of skin" may imply that Job would selfishly be willing to allow his children and animals to lose their skins or lives as long as he could keep his own skin or life. Others feel that the expression emphasizes that a person would be willing to lose some skin if it meant saving his life. For example, a person may hold up his arm to avert a blow to his head, thus losing some skin to save his skin. Whatever the idiom meant, it obviously implied that Job would gladly give up everything as long as he could keep his life. End of footnote. Satan alleged that if Job personally suffered, he would decide that Jehovah was not the most important person in his life. Job was disfigured by a disgusting disease and then pressured by his wife to curse God and die. Later, 3 false comforters accused him of misconduct. However, through all this suffering, Job refused to give up his integrity. Job 2:9 and 10 reads, Finally his wife said to him, "Are you yet holding fast your integrity? Curse God and die." But he said to her, "As one of the senseless women speaks, you speak also. Shall we accept merely what is good from the true God, and not accept also what is bad?" In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. He showed by his faithful endurance that Jehovah was the most important person in his life. Job also demonstrated that it is possible for an imperfect human to answer, although in a limited way, the false accusations of the devil. Jesus' perfect answer. Paragraph 9, Question A. How did Satan try to tempt Jesus with regard to personal desire? Question B. What was Jesus' reaction to this temptation? Shortly after Jesus' baptism, Satan tried to entice Jesus to pursue selfish desires, rather than to keep Jehovah as the most important person in his life. The devil presented Jesus with 3 temptations. First, he tried to appeal to fleshly desire, tempting Jesus to turn stones into bread. Jesus had just fasted for 40 days and was very hungry. So the devil urged him to misuse his miraculous powers to satisfy his hunger.